Breaking news. Ro Khanna is elected Speaker of the House. No. Actually, no. I wish. I wish. It's actually Barbara Lee. No, it's not Barbara Lee. It's actually a Republican because the squad decided not to vote for Nancy Pelosi. They all voted for Pelosi. Wow, okay. So, apparently, folks, Nancy Pelosi will be reelected as Speaker of the House. Despite the fact that the squad was threatening not to vote for her, they all voted for her in the second round. Now, what does this mean for progressivism? And what does this mean for Justice Democrats and all the groups, all the progressives, senators, and House members, that, have voted for her? What does this mean? Well, we do know that there were behind the scenes backdoor negotiations going on. And apparently they got at least one concession. They got a pay-go waiver for the Green New Deal and Medicare for All. So basically pay-go is a system where in order to pass any bill in Congress that's going to increase the deficit, you have to have a way to get that money back through taxes. It's such a dumb rule because it makes it super hard to pass any legislation. And you know what? The Democrats, don't be fooled. Establishment Democrats are just as much budget balancers as Republicans. Just as much. There's not much of a difference. The Republicans might be a little more strict with it, but they're just so it's a dumb rule because it's basically just used to block any type of reforms and use the excuse, how are we going to pay for it? Which is the excuse they use for everything. This is why you had Democrats like Joe Biden who are advocating for cutting Medicare and Social Security. Things that people need. But they won't raise taxes, but that's another issue. So, they got a pay-go waiver, which means that they don't have to figure out the tax piece before the bill is passed. So the bill can be brought to the chamber. So you might be like, oh, this is a victory for the left. Well, they might have won the battle, but the war ain't looking so good. I'll tell you why. Number one, okay, you got the waiver, and are you going to force the vote? No, you didn't force the vote. So, yes, the waiver is great. I'm very happy that you got the waiver, but when the hell are we going to have a vote? That's what I want to know. When is there going to be a vote? And, even if they had promised a vote, I wouldn't trust it because look at someone like Nancy Pelosi. AOC was supposed to get that committee spot, and she was stabbed in the back and wasn't given it. So, how can you trust her to keep her word? The only way you could force her to have a vote on Medicare for All is say, hey, if you don't let us have a floor vote for Medicare for All, we're not voting for you. That's the only way. That's it. There's no other way. Now, I don't want to be too facetious and too pretentious here because there may be a possibility that they got something else in concessions that we don't know about. So, there is that possibility. But the fact that Nancy Pelosi is reelected, even if they did get a floor vote on Medicare for All and the Green New Deal, is embarrassing. It's completely embarrassing. The reason why is because, look, 2 years ago, 2018, I understood, okay, well, Nancy Pelosi sucks, but she's the most progressive action person that we have. So, obviously they should vote for her because voting, letting a Republican win speakership with a Democratic majority would be much, much worse because Congress would be in even more of a gridlock than it already is. Nothing would get done. So, yeah. That was not the case this time. This time in 2020, the squad, all progressives, everyone who was co-sponsoring, there's like 148 people co-sponsoring Medicare for All. You all had adequate opportunity to come up with another person besides Nancy Pelosi. You have Barbara Lee. You have Ro Khanna. And by the way, Ro Khanna has bipartisan support. I was watching Secular Talk earlier, And Kyle pointed out that Ro Khanna has bipartisan support because he's done things across the aisle, like tried to end the Iraq war, in the Afghanistan war with Republicans. So he's willing to work with the other side. And he also has the respect of some centrist people. So perhaps Ro Khanna could have been the Speaker of the House. Barbara Lee could have been the Speaker of the House. You could have organized. Or at the very least, if Nancy's going to be the Speaker, everyone could have held out their votes and said, we're not voting for you unless you bring Medicare for all to the floor and unless you bring the Green New Deal to the floor right now. Because without the squad, she would not have won the speakership. She would have lost to the Republican. So she would have had no choice but to concede. Now that leverage is gone, that time is over. And now we're going to have to try again in 2022. And look, the squad, love them to death. They stand for the right things. They vote for the right principles like 99% of the time. I'm in agreement with them. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to use your power, if you're not going to use the power of the people, Twitter, Twitch, AOC's on Twitch a lot. If you're not going to use your audience to pressure Nancy Pelosi into passing this, you're not going to use your vote to strong arm her into bringing something to the floor. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, it's like you're basically in office saying, yeah, I agree with all the right policies, but I don't have the guts or the backbone to push forward and say, hey, all right, let me use my power. Let me bully them a little bit with this public pressure campaign. Nothing at all. This is unacceptable. They've got to get better. Now, you know what? Nina Turner is running for the House seat, and hopefully she wins, and maybe there'll be some real leadership amongst the squad. Because apparently there doesn't seem to be any centralized leadership. There doesn't seem to be anybody with a strong backbone who's like, hey, let's support each other in pushing these ideas through. Let's be hated by the Democratic establishment. We don't care if they hate us. We welcome their hate. We love for them to hate us. We don't care. Because at the end of the day, the people are on our side, and we can use that to pressure them. Instead, they're like, oh, let's just go along to get along. Let's just play nice. We're all on the same side. We don't want to fracture the party, and hopefully we'll get what we want. And they never get it. Never get it. Nancy Pelosi is only willing to give away small things. Small things. Small concessions that don't mean anything or mean very little. Not that the PAYGO waiver doesn't mean anything, because it does. It's a step in the right direction. But it doesn't mean much without the vote. Force the vote. Why didn't you force the vote? Now you can't force the vote because Nancy's in and you have no leverage. No leverage. So this was embarrassing, guys. Now, look, if somehow they come out and say, oh, there's actually going to force a vote that was part of the negotiation, or, they decided to put Ro Khanna and AOC on the committee, I'll be like, okay, I'll eat my words a little bit. All right, I will. But barring that, this is embarrassing. Not only do you have Nancy Pelosi being the speaker again, when you had time to organize and run someone against her who actually had a chance at winning, but you didn't even get hardly anything for your vote. It's like, yes, they got something, but isn't it enough? To put in the words of Stephen A. Smith, hell no. Hell no. Hell no, it ain't enough. Not even close. Not even close. And honestly, now, a lot of Democrats, like Jimmy Dore, for instance, have been turning on them and yelling at them, saying they're just like the establishment. I do not agree with that, and I think that that's shameful, because this movement is about us having allies, and this is not just about you or one particular part of the group. This is about everyone. All right? We all need to be on the same team here. However, I will say to AOC, to Ro Khanna, to Cori Bush, and the entire squad, when you don't use your power and you don't use the bully pulpit to try to pressure Nancy Pelosi or the establishment into making these changes, and you're just doing the whole go along and get along thing, maybe we'll get a small concession here and there. Don't be surprised if people start looking at you and saying, hey, you're just like them. Hey, you suck. And don't be surprised if they turn on you. I don't agree with it. Because like I said, they vote right on the issues like 99% of the time. But don't be surprised when people start doing that. Because they will do it. And as much as I would love for people to have constructive criticism that'll help build up, that's not how people are. If people see that you're not doing what they want, next thing you know, they're going to be against you, and they're going to advocate primarying you next. Now, do I think it's fair? No. But is it going to happen? Hell yeah. Yes. So, let this be a lesson to the Democrats, the Justice Democrats, and the liberal caucus or the progressive caucus. Let this be a lesson. Because we need more organization. This is embarrassing. What the hell were you doing? What the hell were you thinking? Not having any type of backup plan, not running anyone else, not getting any concessions, and still voting for Nancy Pelosi. Hell, like I said, if we get a vote on Medicare for all and stuff, I will eat my words. But I highly fucking doubt it, man. Highly fucking doubt it. We're not going to get anything out of this. This is embarrassing. This is sad. And hopefully in 2022, we don't make the same mistakes because I just can't believe I can't believe I have to deal with 2 more years of Nancy Pelosi moving her hands and saying, just calm down, let me show you my ice cream, and every once in a while wave her finger at Donald Trump. She won't even do that anymore because Trump's gone. So now what? Absolutely embarrassing, man. Absolutely embarrassing.